Why do we fear the almost human? The psychology of the uncanny. I actually got an answer for you. It's because we fear things that are ugly. Clavicular was right. I'm joking, by the way, mostly.
Does something about this feel wrong? The answer is probably yes, but you likely can't explain why. Why do
Wait, I'm actually not joking because this is proved every day. Everybody knows the fact that if an ugly dude walks up to a girl and like cold tries to flirt with them, right? They're gonna get rejected or they're gonna be viewed as a creep or a weirdo, depending on what they say. But if a top of the line 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10 handsome dude walks up and says the same thing, the reaction to that, the sentiment to that, it's just gonna be viewed differently. And that's the same thing with the uncanny valley. Obviously, if a person, peeked through a door that was a handsome person, it would still be pretty creepy. But the fact that it's odd looking and not symmetrical, not look beautiful to the eye, the idea of beauty, there's no beauty in it, which is why it's creepy. Then we gotta ask, what is beauty? Because beauty isn't measurable. It isn't a physical thing that we could just grab. It's a thing, it's an immaterial thing that we assume exists because we see it with our eyes and we feel it. Beauty. And you are beautiful.
entities that are almost human creep us out more than things that aren't human at all? How's it going, everybody? Welcome back. My name is Chase. Today we're going to be exploring the uncanny. Not just the uncanny valley and why humanoid robots or realistic looking dolls make us feel creeped out, but I want to go a step farther and explore the uncanny as a whole.
That reminds me, bro. I remember I was in this older house, right? And there was like a lot of rooms weren't being used because it wasn't lived in no more. It was my grandpa's house, and a lot of rooms were just lived in no more. I was just looking through the rooms, we were just staying there, and one of the rooms was just a straight doll collection. It wasn't like a huge doll collection, but there was a couple of dolls in there. Maybe I'm remembering this wrong and I just made this up in my head, but I swear there was like a couple of dolls, like at least 4 or 5 maybe, just placed in the room, this empty room. Nothing's been going on in here for years. Yo, something about dolls, leave me alone. I watched Annabelle, The Conjuring when I was like 12, 11, and then that same day somebody broke into our car. I think I'm just haunted by dolls for the rest of my life now, but it's okay. I got God on my side.
Instances in life where that same feeling may be invoked. Let's get right into it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy. I don't want to waste time explaining what the uncanny valley
Industrial robot, toy robot, uncanny valley, prosthetic hand, Bunraku puppet, healthy person. What's a Bunraku puppet? Also, a prosthetic hand's not weird to me. Am I tripping? Maybe if it's just on its own, but if it's on somebody, I don't really, or a prosthetic leg. I knew a couple people that had, not a couple, I knew one person that had a prosthetic leg. I mean, there was no weirdness to me. Ew, bro, what is this? W culture though, I guess. I don't want to be disrespectful.
is because I feel like most of you guys probably already know by now. It's not exactly a niche thing, it's talked about all the time now online. If you're watching this video, I assume you probably already know what it is. But for anyone who's completely in the dark, the term uncanny valley was first used by Japanese roboticist Masahiro Mori. Mori spent the 1960s working on machines that were designed to mimic human movement and appearance. He noticed a trend of people generally responding more positively to robots that were more human-like. But this was only
No, they were cuter, not more human-like.
until a certain point. Eventually, the robots reach a stage where they become too human-like while still having characteristics that clearly identify.
I don't want to be rude. I'm gonna end up being rude. She looks like Taylor Swift. This girl looks like the red lipstick, the little bob cut, the paler skin with like light eyebrows, like cheek. She looks exactly like Taylor Swift, and she's tall. Yeah, I'm getting canceled.
them as being not human. At this point, people begin to react with
Isn't there definitely like a more efficient way you could make a robot? It doesn't have to be like humanoid, right? Can't it just be like a freaking square with 18 arms coming out of it? Like, why are we still making humanoid robots?
extreme discomfort and are very avoidant. Mori took note of his observations in an essay written in the 1970s, and the term the uncanny valley was coined. Later in the video,
Zombie?
we're gonna get into a few
Wait, zombie was on the bottom? Zombies are scary because they're zombies and they'll eat your brains, not because they're uncanny. What?
theories about why entities that closely resemble us make us feel this way.
All right, I don't want to point this out, but if we see his hairline's extremely straight, but there's like, I don't know if this is a shadow or if he shaves a widow's peak. I don't know why I pointed that out. I feel, yeah, I need to shut up. My hairline's not doing too good.
But before we do that, I want to try to define what the uncanny actually is. One of the first people to really explore the concept of the uncanny was the founding father of psychoanalysis, Sigmund Freud. In Freud's 1919 work, Das Unheimliche, or in English, The Uncanny, Freud describes the uncanny as the class of terrifying which leads back to something long known to us, once very familiar. which is to say that the uncanny is something that feels familiar and alien at the same time.
Bro, I swear these like authors, these like philosophers, and these like psychologists would just say something in the most convoluted, extra way to sound smarter than they are when it could have just been said in 5 words. Let's be honest. The uncanny is the long expelliarmus approach that alienates us to the evangelical, hubristic, and jacardinistic approach to the blah 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 blah. Like, bro, just say the uncanny valley is something that feels familiar and weird to us or something.
Something that should feel ordinary or mundane feels off-putting. You
Exactly.
see, Freud believed that much of human behavior was driven by repressed desires, fears, and memories. These pieces of you are often buried deep within your subconscious mind. When the uncanny arises, it is this repressed content being driven to the surface. So beliefs that you're more likely to hold as a child when you don't really understand the way the world works yet, like believing in magic, or spirits possessing objects, and your toys being able to move by themselves. When something in the world—
Wait, as kids, did we all believe that? Let's all like open up and be honest. I had like a stuffed animal collection when I was younger, and genuinely, I had this Mickey Mouse that I got from Disneyland. It was from like 2004 or something. I don't know when it was from. 2008, I think. I actually still remember when I got it. Great day. Point is, sometimes at night I would be like, I'd look at the doll. Not that it wasn't a doll. It was a stuffed animal, and I'd whisper to it, like, bro, like you could talk to me. I won't tell. Like, I'm a loser. I wonder if anybody else went through that, bro. I won't tell anybody. You could talk to me. Trust. He wouldn't ever do anything because it's a stuffed animal made with cotton and stitching, made in freaking China.
provokes these old repressed beliefs, the result is that strange, unsettling feeling, the uncanny. To Freud, things like hyper-realistic dolls and machines are uncanny because they blur the line between the animate and inanimate. Our expectations of what it means to be alive, conscious, and human are being challenged. Another different interpretation of the
Nah, I just think it's because they're weird and ugly, and we don't like things that are weird and ugly.
uncanny comes from French psychoanalyst
Jacques
Jacques
Lacan.
Lacan, who significantly reinterpreted much of Freud's work. Lacan believed that there are 3 different orders or registers that describe different dimensions of the human experience. These 3 registers, the imaginary, the symbolic, and—
Like, bro, these two people vastly differ in their ideas of Like, are they just sitting in a room making stuff? Like, what's going on here? Like, why can't there just be one answer? When it comes to like psychology and how the mind works, I genuinely sometimes think that a lot of modern stuff, not that it's made up, but you could just choose not to apply to it, and that's actually a hot take. Like ideas like trauma, depression, whatever. Like, I know there's people that go through that stuff, but these are just umbrella terms that encompass like so many things because they can't specify or find like an actual specific answer to something, right? For example, depression. I mean, I could pull up a definition, but there's going to be varying definitions. But like generally, depression is like what? When you're sad, when you're very sad, like you can't move, like not move. You can't really act on things. You feel helpless. You can't do the things you usually do. But when you look at the idea of depression, it's not like there's a one size fits all answer, right? You can't go to the doctor and scan you. Oh, he has a depressed brain. Put him on this medicine, he'll be cured. It's not like a cancer or like a broken bone that could get healed, right? Depression is just a word that encompasses all these emotions or these symptoms that usually mean that that's what you are. So you could go through this horrible traumatic experience, lose something, maybe lose your parent, maybe, go through a crazy breakup, and you could be quote unquote depressed, but that doesn't mean you have depression. You could experience it. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm gonna be honest. Because for example, people say it's the chemical imbalances, but like there's hella studies that say it's not, that there's people without the chemical imbalances that still feel the depression. And then when you pair it up with like the 15 different drugs they give you that all end up giving you side effects and not actually curing the real thing, most of the time the depression is just when you're going through a tough state in life that you have to deal with. Again, for some people it might actually be a chemical imbalance or something hardwired differently in their brain, but for a lot of people the medication is just to deal with that time period where they're going through a tough time, when they're getting their life together, and then after that you could kind of let go of the medication and you'll be back to normal, I guess. I need to shut up, bro. I'm just really anti like medicating at all times. I think medication should be one of the like last resorts when it comes to mental health, because medication is dangerous, medication is scary, it makes you not you, and that's just me.
real, explain how we form our own self-identity and how we interact with the world around us. The imaginary is the realm of images, fantasies, and self-identity, shaped by early experiences and identifications, most notably the mirror stage. The mirror stage often occurs during infancy when the child is first able to recognize their reflection as themselves.
Am I the only one that looks in the mirror like every day, every couple hours, bro? Vanity is not good. I'm sometimes I'm like, bro, I look kind of ugly today, bro. Why do I look like this? That's something I need to work. That's not good for the soul, mental health, body, nothing.
Seeing and recognizing this reflection is when your self-identity begins to form. However, it's based on a misrecognition. It's kind of that same feeling that you get when you look at old pictures of yourself. Neither a reflection or a picture is actually capable of fully capturing who you are. The second register is the symbolic, and
Well, it's not capturing who you are. Obviously, it's only capturing. Well, it could capture who you are because you could think at the type of person, if you have the memory still in your head, that you were in that picture. If I look at a picture of me in like elementary school, I could think about the type of person, the who I was in that moment. Maybe if you're a baby, you don't know who you are or like what the type, you know what I'm saying? But I think you could connect to who you were at that time to who you are now.
is the realm of language and social structure. The symbolic shapes the way that we think, speak, and relate to other people. We use language to represent real things, but our unconscious associations shape our understanding. For example, if I were to say the word dog, we both know what kind of animal I'm talking about. But your past experiences shape the way you feel. If you've had numerous bad encounters with dogs, you probably don't like them very much. Those past experiences might invoke a negative connotation around the word. But I've never really had a super negative experience with a dog, so even though we're talking about the same thing, our associations with that thing are entirely different.
I'm gonna say something cancelable right here. Is that how racist people think? Like, do they associate bad experiences they've had with a specific group or ethnic background or race of people and then apply it to all of them? So now they're like racist by avoiding, but that wouldn't make you racist. That would just make you avoid or kind of be scared of that group of people, which I guess would be racist. But when I think of racist, I think of actively like putting a specific group or race down and putting yourself above. I don't know what I'm talking about. Don't be racist though. I'm gonna say something brave. I'm against racism.
The real is the final register, and it resists the other two. When I say that it resists the other two registers, what I mean by that is that it cannot be fully put into words or images. The real is experienced when the other two registers are challenged or fractured, most commonly through traumatic experiences, where something that is meaningful to us is taken away or torn apart. Imagine you're walking down the sidewalk with one of your friends, and out of nowhere, a car swerves off the road and hits them, and just like that, they're gone. This would be an encounter with the real. You would be standing there frozen in shock, unable to process what just happened.
But how do you know it's the real? Can you prove that your senses are accurate, that your eyes are telling you what's real, that your brain is not just, chemicals experiencing this to make you feel this way, and you're not just a projected illusion? If you don't have an answer for that, it is what it is. All right, I'm joking. For the sake of the video, I'm gonna stop trying to question everything this dude's saying. I'm just gonna go with his presuppositions that he already holds and assume that they are real.
The other two orders were just ruptured, because there's no way you would ever be able to explain that experience in words or images. To Lacan, the uncanny is a glimpse past the symbolic and into the real. You're seeing something that isn't alive, but it almost seems like it might be. The boundaries between what is alive and what's not collapse, and the result is the uncanny. The real is pressing through, something that is outside our comprehension. So does the uncanny creep us out because of repressed childhood beliefs or a glimpse past the symbolic and imaginary orders? Maybe that's a part of it, I'm not the one to say. The uncanny is very hard to define.
Bro, the uncanny creeps us out because it's creepy, because it's weird. It looks weird. Everybody comes from different backgrounds, and majority of people are still going to be creeped out by the uncanny. Everybody has different beliefs and religion and spirituality or whatever metaphysical beliefs that they hold to that maybe would contradict whatever the other dude that he was saying, but they still see the uncanny. They would still be like, oh, that's kind of weird and strange. So I don't think that, I think it, like, these people are just trying to get too complicated with it. I don't know. I mean, I don't have an answer either.
And to put into words. But there have been several other theories proposed as to why we evolved to fear the almost human. The mate selection theory states that uncanny features may signal poor reproductive health or genetic defects. We evolved to be repulsed by the almost human because they could signal low fitness in potential mates. From an evolutionary standpoint, mate selection involves subconscious checks for reproductive fitness. Traits commonly associated with the uncanny, like lifeless eyes or pale skin, could indicate infertility or developmental issues.
I think that's just false. I think if we're keeping it a buck, we've all seen couples where the two people, I'm not going to say they fall in the uncanny valley, but they're definitely not the most attractive people, which kind of makes them look less human or more untrustworthy. People are with people that look untrustworthy all the time, and they're clearly in love. So I think we could throw that theory out the window.
These traits unconsciously trigger this feeling of rejection to avoid passing on the weak genes. I'm kind of going to spoil my own beliefs on this. I think that the uncanny is a conglomerate of a bunch of different things. This is one of the only ones that I think I would count out entirely. Because first of all, I see people that I'm not attracted to all the time, and I would not classify them as uncanny or say that I'm repulsed by them. And besides that, I wouldn't be able to look.
I would say there are some people. I wouldn't say actually I'm repulsed. I was gonna say there are some people who like, bro, like people who are either heavy into the use of drugs or like don't care about their health at all, or went through something crazy where they just look very disheveled. Yeah, I'm not repulsed. I'm just like, damn, that sucks.
At a male doll or figurine and feel that same uncanny sensation because I'm interested in women. So I don't think the uncanny valley has anything to do with mate selection or avoiding passing on weak genes. Another theory is disease avoidance. Strange and unnatural features might subconsciously remind us of symptoms of illness, triggering an avoidant reaction to reduce the risk of infection. Evolution, of course, favored humans who could detect early signs of illness in others and avoid them. Features like odd coloring and sluggish robotic movement are often found in figures that fall into the uncanny valley, but they can also be—
Bro, these evolution theories are all just whack. They're wacko. There's plenty of I find a lot of pale women attractive specifically. And stiff movement, bro, tall people are stiff. They're kind of sometimes uncanny. Old people are very stiff. I don't think they're uncanny. I think they're adorable. I just want to squeeze them.
these signs of illness. We may be seeing these features as signs of possible illness, invoking an avoidant reaction. The predator avoidance theory states that the uncanny valley may be
Bro, Momo is disgusting. I remember when I found out about this, I would actually just send it to everybody I knew just to scare them.
side effect of our predator detection systems. A being that looks almost human, but not quite, could set off primal alarm bells of spotting a predator wearing a human disguise. This would also explain why the robotic movement makes this feeling more pronounced, because the jerky unnaturalness of it resembles something pretending to be human. This is the other one that I'm not too sure about because, as far as I know, there's never been a predator that closely mimicked human behavior.
I'm gonna be honest, if there was an uncanny like figurine, I think it would be scarier if it moved fluid like a human. You know what I'm saying? I think like if it moved like a robot, it would be scary. But if something moved perfectly smooth like a human and had a weird face, I'd be like, what the fuck's going on? Why? This moves too much like a human.
Since the uncanny valley is a pretty universal feeling, it wouldn't make sense for it to be passed down to everyone if it wasn't benefiting our survival. Obviously, predator detection would be incredibly important to early human survival, but specifically fearing the almost human and human mimics seems a little bit out there. Unless our ancestors were regularly encountering skinwalkers and Wendigo, it doesn't really make sense to me for this trait to be passed down to everybody. Because seeing a saber-toothed tiger standing in front of you and then seeing a mannequin that looks like it might be alive are two completely different feelings. The corpse recognition theory states that uncanny features often mirror traits found in corpses.
Bro, people are just throwing shit at a wall and hoping it sticks. Nobody actually knows. I mean, I don't know if nobody knows. I don't know. What am I talking about?
Or mortally ill humans. Again with the waxy skin and glassy eyes, but also the rigid posture and slack facial expressions. These traits make us feel uncomfortable because of a subconscious—
Maybe this one, I mean, because I was thinking of like embalmed bodies. They kind of give an uncanny vibe, right?
conscious association we have between them and death. This one is pretty similar to the disease avoidance theory, which is why I waited to cover this one as well. Both of these theories make sense to me. It's just part of your brain trying to keep you alive. And part of staying alive is keeping you healthy and avoiding getting sick. Of course, staying around sick, dying, or dead people is probably suboptimal for your health and well-being as a human. So your brain subconsciously steers you away and says, maybe staying around this isn't the best idea. The other hominid hypothesis states that the uncanny valley is a leftover from when we coexisted with other human-like hominins, like Neanderthals and Denisovans. Our encounters with these species may have regularly involved competition for things like resources and food, leading to a hardwired caution response for almost human faces. Even though we're now the only remaining hominin species left, our brain may have retained this evolutionary suspicion towards anything that may resemble a separate tribe. Alright, I know I said I'm only counting a couple of these out, and I don't know if I want to...
Bro, all of these sound absolutely dumb. I'm gonna be honest, bro. We see freaking we see people that look like Neanderthals. We see monkeys. We see like we're not
count this one out completely, but to me it definitely seems very unlikely. Maybe it's a part of it because I can see how we would be competing with other species of humans for food and resources. But personally, I would not breed with something or someone that I found to be uncanny looking. And we know that early Homo sapiens bred with Neanderthals. There are people in the world right now who have more Neanderthal DNA than you or I because their ancestors bred with Neanderthals. So again, I don't think this one holds a lot of weight. The category ambiguity theory states that we as people like to put things into categories, and we prefer to be able to tell definitively whether something is human or not. If you look at an object, you put it into the category of not being alive. But if that object is a doll or mannequin that looks somewhat like a real person, our brains try and fail to force a classification, creating that unsettling feeling. This one is pretty straightforward and it makes a lot of sense to me. It kind of ties back to Lacan's theory of the other orders being challenged. I used a dog earlier as an example, so I'm going to use that again. Could you imagine coming home one day and your dog is speaking to you fluently? Maybe after a while you get used to it, it might even be kind of cool for a little bit, but your immediate reaction, or at least my immediate reaction, would be that uncanny feeling, because part of what I know about dogs is that they don't speak. So if my dog started speaking to me, it's breaking my classification of what a dog is. Another theory is the violation of social norms. As humans, we have behavioral expectations for others baked into our DNA. You can think about something like eye contact. Generally, we all feel comfortable holding eye contact for short durations of time, usually between 2 to 5 seconds. But when you meet a person who is breaking eye contact too frequently or holding it for too long, it makes you feel uneasy. Our brain is subconsciously noticing...
Yeah, but that also falls into the category of like the uncanny. Somebody that is a regular dude wouldn't break eye contact that often. Like that's not how humans, like, you know what I'm saying? Like somebody that's just fucking staring at you or staring too long, or it's not how a normal person would act. So if somebody's acting not normal, then you're like, this dude's creepy. I'm weirded out.
The behavior being exhibited feels like mimicry, and it flags the entity as being possibly deceptive or manipulative. Again, this one makes sense to me, and I can definitely see how this would be a part of it. I've definitely met people in my life who make eye contact for way too long or make it too intensely, so maybe the uncanny valley is just that, but the next step up. It's the same feeling, but just a more intense version. So in conclusion, we don't really know what the uncanny is, or why these things that fall into the uncanny valley disturb us so much. While we don't have a definitive reason for the uncanny valley's existence, it's likely the result of multiple systems overlapping rather than just having one specific cause. It reveals just how deeply we care about what it means to be human, and how violated we can feel when something blurs the line between that boundary. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed this video and that you learned something new or at least found it entertaining.
Wow, bro. Midway through the video, I was getting distracted by outside forces, but that was I like that video, you know? I never really thought about why we think something is uncanny or not, but none of those theories kind of shed a light on anything. If something's odd, if something's weird, it's weird, man. Something scary is scary, man. We could look at beauty. We could look at ugliness. We could look at scariness, uncanniness. These are all things that can't necessarily be measured, but do exist. So I don't know. I think that's it for me.